Okay, here we are for the last major part of the shooter, which is the UI. UI, user interface, that stands for, is very important in games, as you probably know from any game you've ever played. For example, in a shooter, the crosshairs are, an important part for where the gun is pointed. In any kind of resource management game, the loadout for which resources you're selecting to place in the world is an important aspect of it. In a game which is like an RPG, the dialogues are obviously very important. The what you can select for your character to do is very important as well. There's lots and lots of uses for UI, and something that is kind of taken for granted, frankly, in the games industry. Here's a video from BioWare in one of their Star Wars updates. Um, and I happen to have a friend who's working on, who was at the time working on the 1.2 update for Old Republic, and you can see here, this is just an interview from their lead um, user interface artist talking about the customizable UI that they had, and pretty cool stuff. You can see, um, I might link to this joystick article just so you can kind of see the state of the art of some of this UI stuff. There's plenty of good examples though for good UI, and this one is just one example. I'm trying to get rid of this little thing here, but in any case, that gives you kind of an idea. Here's the map. Here's the character and the health. Here's even this stuff ends up being considered UI, where it's kind of selecting where the characters are. Here's some of the tools that you have at your disposal. This is the full layout design that you're able to actually customize in Swatter, uh, the Swatter game. So pretty kind of complex, or not complex, but advanced kind of UI stuff here, but nonetheless, it's kind of cool to take a look at. So that's, if you want the URL, it's just massively.joystick.com, 2012-04-04, BioWare shows off Swatter's customizable UI and new video. So kind of neat. But anyway, really off topic. Well, not really, I guess. It's good to talk about this stuff. And as a sort of new game developer, you definitely want to immerse yourself in things like Kotaku and Joystick and Gamasutra especially, because that's particularly made for game developers. Gamasutra is um, kind of like other gaming sites, except it's more built for game developers in mind. So, for example, this one is talking about the future of being a video game producer. In-app purchases really are the most effective for mobile game monetization. Whether or not that's true, probably. But is it hot? Design challenges for sex and games. Crafting to leave, an autobiography of the indie game from Ecuador. The postmark for touchscreen ninja game Shadowblade. Job listings are in here. So I'll probably talk more about sort of game industry general stuff as we go, but now I'm off topic. If I wasn't before, I am now. So next up, we are going to create a UI for our game. So in our game, it's much more simple than that. We're going to be creating a health and a score. So for our health and score, we're going to need a score, which is just going to be a simple int, and a font, just like before where we created fonts. This is going to be a sprite font. So remember from way back when we did that Hello World example, it's going to be quite similar to that actually. So in the initialize method, we're going to want to set the score to 0. So score equals 0. And in load content, probably somewhere above the play music, we're going to want to load up our font. They've created one for us called Game Font. If you take a look at that, this is the Microsoft created one. It's just a big HTML or XML rather file with using the font impact of size 24, you can change some of this, and you probably will want to change some of this for your own game. But that's where that is. And so now we've got our fonts loaded up. Next I want to look for wherever we're calling that sound explosion play, because that's where we want the score to be updated. Is wherever we are, explosion.play is what I'm going to search for. Make that just explosion. Here we go, explosion sound.play. And I'm going to set the score to score plus equals enemy's eye dot value. Value is the amount of points I get from shooting that particular enemy. And I've purposely added value in here so that you could have, bigger sort of boss monsters and that kind of thing in your game if you wanted to. Next up, we're going to simply just draw the score and draw the player health as well. That can be done in the draw function. So I want to draw this on top of everything, so I'm going to go ahead and put it down here. And this is what my code looks like. So we've got spritebatch.drawString font score. We're going to add to that score, and that's going to be new. I'm going to put this on the next line, new vector 2. This is the title safe area where we want to start drawing the viewport area at Y and in the color white. And then we'll also draw our health. We also want to decrement the health if the player gets hit. So let's make sure we're actually doing that. I'm going to do our another find in files. I'm going to go through here and see if I'm actually doing that. I think I might be already. Yep, player health minus equals enemy's eye dot damage. So we're already decrementing the player health, which is nice. Now if the player dies, we're going to want to reset the score preferably inside of the update for that. So we're going to say if player.health less than or equal to 0, then we reset his health and we set the score back to 0. So that should be it, and we should end up with a nice little, but early on, primitive little HUD or UI. Let's go ahead and run the game. So go ahead and run it. And voila, we've got score, we've got health, and things are updating as we go across the screen here. My health is being updated. I'm going to try to kill myself here if I can, because I want to see that the score gets reset, and indeed it does. The score got reset there, so now I can play normally and try to get a high score. Still a pretty easy game. I mean, one of the things you could do for your project is actually put some ramping difficulty in here and make these things start coming faster at you if you wanted. So that's about it for this time. Join us next time. We will be talking about further enhancements, but for now you've got pretty much the entire game, and the next video we're going to talk about enhancements and the project.